Good. Hello, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. We are so happy that you carved out some time for us, and we hope we don't disappoint. Hold on tight while I run our intro. All right, ladies, we are back. Hey, Lisa, thanks for joining us this evening. So we're gonna go ahead and introduce the ladies. The lovely Katrina Taylor. Take a bow.
Good evening.
And the awesome Shanetta McNair. Shanetta.
Hi. Half bow.
Listen, I have to, shake it up a little bit. Hey, Richard, thanks for joining us tonight. So, ladies, this topic was actually Shanetta's topic. So she is going to fill us in on how this topic came to be. Shanetta, the floor is yours.
Okay. So I think everybody knows, even with some more news dropping today, of the young lady, Sha'Carri Richardson, who was set to go to Tokyo to represent the U.S. in the Olympics as our representative for the 100, I think a 200, and a relay. And so she took her drug test, which I guess is typical and standard, and failed because came back positive for a substance that is found in marijuana, which means basically she had been smoking weed. So she's 21. She's young. I think that a lot of people have had a lot of opinions and thoughts and, just feelings about this whole situation, about how the Olympics committee should have handled it, about things that she should have done or she should have known better. And not to be on either side of that. But I think that when we all think back to our younger years, and to where we've come from and where we are now as mature adults, we have things that we've learned, lessons. Some of us may have regrets from our past, things that we would do differently, or if you could go back and tell your younger self anything now that you know things, now that you're what we call a real grown-up. What would you say to your younger self? Because, at 21, you think you know everything. At 18, you think you know everything, and you're like, I don't need advice from, this person and that one. But now, being much more mature and having lived a little while longer, what would you say to your younger self if you had a chance to go back and have that conversation? If you could go back to 18-year-old Sam, if you could go back to 15 or 20-year-old Katrina, like what in the world would you say to your younger self? Do you have any regrets? Do you have any lessons that you've learned throughout the years that you would go back and put out there?
Listen, I'm gonna jump right in. Lisa, thanks. Thank you. I appreciate it. If I could go back to my 18-year-old self, 18 was like a great year in theory. Like, I moved out of the house, I got my own apartment. You couldn't tell me I wasn't all the way grown. Mm-hmm. So I was living on my own, paying my own rent, all those things. If I could go back and talk to my 18-year-old self, my first bit of advice would be selfish. Put Sam first. I think that would be like the extent of it, because like not even no deep lessons. I mean, you do things at 18 that if I could go back, would I do them again? Probably most of them. Like I probably would. I say I probably would do more, to be honest. But that's just me. But I definitely would tell myself to put Sam first. That would be like my biggest piece of advice. Some of the things that I feel like I sacrificed me for, I would not redo those things, especially being on this side of it. And thinking, how sometimes you do things or you make decisions and you think down the road is going to look differently. Yeah, I would definitely use no a whole lot more, like for real. And I probably would have moved out of New York earlier. Yeah, I would have moved and never went back though. Like, I mean, I love it. I don't went back to visit, but I don't think like I would have went back to live. Yeah, that would be my advice to my younger self. Trina?
So regrets or lessons in
do I have any regrets? I mean, I kind of think of it as like, everything kind of led to who I am today. I guess my regret would, if I had to have one, would be that it took me this long to become this version of myself. I think that would be my regret, that I didn't get some of this, maybe 20 years ago. That probably would be a regret. Lessons I learned, gosh, I mean, I'm about to be 45. I done learned a whole lot, and most of them the hard way, because I'm like hit the wall 90 miles an hour before I get it. So lessons I've learned, I think would kind of be to stay focused on the goals. Like, don't get so distracted with other people and other things. Because along the way, like I'm the one, oh, okay, I'm gonna go get these flowers. And on the way to the flowers, oh, you need some flowers? Let me give you all the ones I've already picked. And then I gotta go all the way back to start. And now I'm picking up more flowers. And then you see somebody else and it's like, oh, you need flowers, baby? Here, you take mine. I'll just get some more. And I feel like, I did that for a long time, like giving away my flowers and things that, I should have kept. So my lessons, would have been to stay focused on the goal at hand and I don't know, stop trying to save everybody. So before you answer, Trina, let me just read the comment. To my younger self, you're unstoppable, you're worthy, you're talented and gifted, worthy of being loved. I love you. Go for all of your goals of purpose, driven and zeal. I'm not a largely I'm less selfish now. Oh, okay. Well, listen, that's a lot, Richard. You needed a pep talk. All right. Go ahead, Trina.
I think that my younger self, I was scared to step out and do what I really wanted to do. My father was very overbearing, controlling, and so there were things that I wanted to do, but because he said, no, you're not going to do it, even though I was like 18, 19, 20, and I was grown, I was scared to do things that he said I shouldn't do. When I graduated high school, there were other things I wanted to do. I wanted, like in my mind, I was like, okay, yeah, law school sounds good, but I also wanted, I was thinking about pursuing music, more like music writing songs or whatever. I wanted to go away to college. He said absolutely not to both of those things. No, you're going to law school. Yes, that's you. You need to do this, that, and And it was like, no, you're not. It wasn't. Let's talk about what you want to do, what you might want to do with your life. What are your interests? It was, this is what you're gonna do. And I wish that looking back now, like, why didn't I just stand up and say what I want to do? Why, looking like Me now, child, I'm like, you know what? So I wish that I had the boldness that I have now. Because I think I would have done some things differently. I would have made some choices for myself. Because I wanted that, on campus experience. I wanted to, live away from home, and that he was like, no, your sisters didn't go away. You ain't going away. It was just no. And I was like, and I was too scared to stand up for myself and do the things that I wanted to do. So, looking back, I wish I would have developed the boldness that I have now to stand up for myself.
Okay, so Trina, since you were already talking, so who was the most influential person that you ignored as a young person? Or was there someone?
Ignored? There was a bishop that told me that I was supposed to marry this other preacher, and I completely ignored him. I was like, God didn't tell me that. So, I mean, respectfully, I respected him, but I just didn't. I said, absolutely not. I do not want to be a pastor's wife. No. So, and I said, unless Jesus himself comes down with a bright light and shakes the bed and says, you are to marry this person, it's just not going to happen. Respectfully, Bishop. And that was the end of that.
Respectfully.
I shake the bed.
It had to be all of that for me to.
Who was the most influential person that I ignored as a young person? I don't know. That's a hard one. I will say the most influential person when I was younger, and I didn't really ignore her. And I know if she see this, I would get a text. But she was like so nice and so sweet. And I used to always be like, she's just too nice. It was Katrina's sister. She was the most influential, but she'd always be like, Sam, don't be so hard. Sam, be patient. Sam, and I was like, I hear you, but I can't. Like she's the sweetest ever. Like even now, like we're way past and we're really close, and I love her. But like when I was a teenager, she'd be like, Sam, you're so hard. Don't be so angry. And she was right about all this stuff. But I'd be like, Lisa, I just want to clobber somebody. And she used to always be like, you can't be like that. Jesus can do it. Jesus is gonna, and I'd be like, can Jesus just kill him? Like, like in my mind, I was always like so drastic. So, some of the things she said, although I heard it, I really didn't apply all of them. Like it took me, like I said, to be now to even now think of some of the things she said to me then that I probably should have listened to or tried to apply a little more. So I don't have skin like a crocodile, that tough skin. Like, because sometimes I feel like it's too tough, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So Shanetta, you want to answer? Well, tell us who your most influential person, and then.
So my most influential person is really hard to say because I'm not sure. Like I had some people in my life that kind of dropped seeds here and there that I feel like, I should have listened to. Now, one that I talk about quite often, when I was going into college, my sister's mom, she talked to me about a lot of stuff to watch out for. Like she was like, you're going to get to campus and they're going to offer you credit cards. Don't take a credit card. You're going to get to campus and they're going to be trying to, to pull you into this and pull you into that. Don't focus on any of those things. Like and it was like everything she told me not to do. And I was like, you know how you had that kid, it's like, okay. And they're like, I'm really listening, like I'm gonna do everything that you tell me. And then get outside and do the exact opposite of everything that you said. I had like, I want to say like maybe 10 credit cards. And it was like the dumbest thing ever. I'm like, why did I didn't need all those credit cards. I had a Texaco card, y'all.
Oh, did you even have a car?
No, man.
Oh my God.
So finally, when I got a car, ran the stupid card up because I'm like, I'll pay it later. A Texaco card. It was only like $250 on the card. But yeah, like a Texaco card. It was crazy. So that's the most influential person that I think I should have listened to when she told me not to get all those credit cards. Like, I should not have gotten all those credit cards. I should have totally walked away from the whole you get a free squishy ball or drawstring backpack or something for signing up for. And I was like, they're not going to give it to me. I'm just going to sign up and get my free item. Get your little free item, and they're like, you're approved. And you get a credit card in the mail. Like, what? What am I supposed to do with this? Spend it? Okay. So that's my most
trap. It's a trap.
Right.
And I'm just praying that my kids don't fall into it because I'm like, hey guys, you don't need credit cards. Listen, we'll take care of you. I promise. Don't get a credit card. So yeah, but all in all, I think when I look back, I think I'm kind of like, I saw the comment a little bit ago from I think it was Richard, where he had a lot of stuff that he would have said to his younger self. And I have a list like that. Like I have a ton of things that I'm like, if I could go back when I was younger and tell myself, don't do this, don't talk to him, don't go there, I would just like go down the list and I'd be like, girl, let me tell you, in 20 years, that stuff is not even gonna matter. Don't you worry about that. Don't do that. Don't make that decision. I think it's a few things I would tell myself. Regrets, not so much, because I think that everything that I experienced taught me what I needed to learn so that I would have the tools I need today. Right. So I don't regret it, even the bad decisions, even some of the dumbest decisions that I made. I don't regret any of them. Right. I take most of them as lessons, but I do have like a list of things that I would just say, like, I mean, one big thing that I would have probably told my younger self is, girl, go to therapy earlier in life. Like, don't be holding out and waiting, talking about Black people don't go to therapy. Take yourself to a therapist and talk it out. Like, you need somebody to talk to really early. But I think I would also kind of encourage myself not to make some of the stupid mistakes and not to do some of the things that just weren't. Like, I went to school, but like, I wasn't even a party girl in college, to be real honest with you. Like, I wasn't in, I was working. I had like 3 jobs when I was in college. I guess I could have told myself to slow that down a little bit and that the money would come later. And that I should have maybe enjoyed college life and did a little bit more on campus versus, and I went to classes. I wore the same little gray jogging suit to class. Like I had like 3 of them, and it didn't matter what the weather was. It didn't matter what was going on. I put on my little gray sweatsuit and some tennis shoes, had my glasses on, my books in my hand and my head down, ran to them classes, ran up out of them classes, got involved just a little bit on campus, but not a whole lot. And went to one of my 3 jobs, and like I was hustling and I was working. I think I would have told myself to slow that down a little bit and just enjoy the campus experience, be on campus and be a college kid, and enjoy that process versus trying to rush through it. I also finished college in 3 years, and I didn't take summers off. I took a full load every semester. So like, I was like trying to, like get it done and get through it because I felt like I had to support myself and get to a place where I could do that. So I had a mission and a goal, and it was hard. And I think I put too much pressure on myself to do everything so fast. But I think those are some of the things I would go back and just be like, hey, you know, you got this. It's okay to be broke for a little while. It's okay. It really is okay to not have it all right now. But yeah, so those are some of the things that I would do, that I would say.
Okay. And so what are some of the lessons you learned?
Ooh, child. Lessons. I think that I learned along the way that I was smarter than I thought I was. And that was a big deal for me because I always questioned, like I knew I was smart. You know how you know you're smart and you know stuff, but then like you kind of question yourself. So it caused you to kind of be quiet and reserve yourself because you don't think you're the smartest person in the room. And you don't always want to be the smartest person in the room. But then like later on, you realize I probably was the smartest person in the room. All I needed to do was actually speak up and challenge myself and put myself out there and, you know, just try just a little bit. So I think I would have, you know, just taken that lesson of, you know, don't be so reserved to yourself. Like I said, I would go to campus, head down, glasses on, books in my hand, didn't talk to people. I think I told you the story before, Sam, about how one of my college friends, how I met her and how I went to freshman orientation and I was not talking to anybody. I was sitting there looking around like, oh my God, what am I doing here? And literally she just started talking to me and wouldn't stop. And that's how we became friends. I think that the lesson that I learned in that is that I could have been more open. I could have been more outgoing. I'm grateful for her because we're still friends to this day. And I'm grateful that she wanted to bother me enough to just keep talking to me. But I probably would have had a few more lifelong friends if I would have put myself out there a little bit more and gotten more engaged. Maybe my whole, you know, there would have been a shift in my personality if I would have allowed myself to engage a little bit more, but I didn't. I was all about those books. And it was like, that was my one friend. I really had two college friends, my roommate and her. But that was like my, you know, yeah, that was that thing. I probably would have made more connections. So
You mentioned, you know, that you, after your experience with college and the credit cards, you know, you want your children not to do that. Do you find there are other things, you know, that you kind of went through, don't necessarily have to be bad, but you're like, when it comes to your kids, like, no, don't do that. Like,
yeah, definitely. I just recently told my daughter this, and I think I might have said it to my son who's about to go to his freshman year in August. I think I might have already said it to him. If I didn't, I'll probably say it again in August when we drop him off. Do something on campus. Get involved. Be a part of a club. Join an organization. Be a RA, go and, you know, be a tour guide for, you know, upcoming freshmen, but do something, like get involved on campus. So I would definitely like kind of tell them, don't be all about your books. Like but they have a comfort that I didn't have. They have the comfort of, you know, there's a door that they can go and knock on and the parents will be on the other side to let you in. So, my drive was a little different because of my circumstances versus their drive, you know, of course will be different. They come from a little bit more of a cushy life too. So they're a little bit more spoiled. So they have the liberty to do some things that I didn't have the liberty to do, but I definitely want them to enjoy this time. Don't get tied down and trying to be somebody's girlfriend or boyfriend. Child, live your life, have some fun, stay safe, but you know, like have some fun, like just enjoy being a kid right now, a half grown kid or a half grown up, whatever you want to call it. Enjoy it and don't be out here tripping over nobody. Like people come and go and let them go.
and Trina, so do you feel that way? Like, you know, when it comes to Jakai or Tyson?
Definitely. I was having a conversation with Chika the other day, and we were talking about her. I think I spoke about her trying to make a decision. 'Cause she's going into her last year of college. She's a psychology major, and she doesn't know which way she wants to go with it. And so I'm like, do whatever you want to do. You know, I'm like, 'cause I just wanted to make sure I'm not trying to influence her. You got to do this. You got to go to graduate school. I was like, you want to take a year off and go to graduate school after that, or not go, whatever you want to do. If you want to dance, you have time. You know what I'm saying? There's no rush. You can make a decision. You can do whatever you want to do. You can do something for a while and pivot and switch and do something else. And so I just wanted to make sure that she's happy and she's not feeling pressure, but she feels like, okay, I'm feeling more pressure because I have too many options out here. So,
Okay, so Kaneem said, as a young person, are there any decisions that continue to affect you as a mature? Okay, I mean, I guess y'all get the gist of the question. Continue to affect you as a mature adult today. Um, yeah, I'll say, like, I mean, I'm trying, I'm trying to get better, but it is hard. Like, um, we even talked about it at the last couples thing. Like, in my mind, I've always been an army of one. You know what I mean? Like, and then, I got married, so now I'm an army of two. I've enlisted, I've drug Anthony on board, to my army of two. So I'm like, we got it. I can do it. I'm used to being the one to do everything and handle everything. I grew up way before my time, due to circumstances. I'm the oldest. It was always a lot of stuff laid at my feet. And so I took on more than I should have had to take on long before I should have had to take it on. So like, even now that I'm as old as I am, like, I still struggle, like, sometimes with the simplest of stuff, just having to reach out to somebody else to do something, or ask somebody to do something, and like, not even like to borrow money or anything like that, but just the simplest of things. I still struggle asking people for things, or I mean, even advice. Like, you got to catch me in a moment that I might just, lay it all out. But just on a regular basis, like, I'm not like that person that kind of leans on other people. I mean, like I said, I'm getting better. I've gotten better in these last couple of years with it. But yeah, and it's definitely from, my upbringing. Like, I felt like I always had to depend on me. So it's hard, to kind of adjust to other people really being there for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Trina?
decisions.
Hi, Mother Norris.
I mean, I guess, my career choice was a decision, but I think that served me well for when it did. So I don't think it was a bad decision. I think it worked out. I feel like it worked out. So, I don't know. I can't think of anything that was, something that's affecting me in a negative way.
It doesn't have to be negative.
So, in a positive way, I guess getting my education. I think that was a great decision, because it turned out that I was going to be, a single mom, a widow. And so it served me well to have an established career. So that was a good thing. I don't know.
Okay. Shanetta?
I would agree with Trina and say definitely the career path that I chose during college. But honestly, I feel like I doubted myself in some areas, but knew that I was capable of certain things. Like I loved kids at this point. At that point, I loved kids and I wanted to go into education.
Right.
However, my first desire is what I probably should have gotten my degree in.
Okay.
Which I don't know how that would have turned out because I didn't get the degree in that.
What was it?
Law.
Oh, okay.
And there are moments where I'm like, I could have did that. I really could have done that.
Sure, you could have. Absolutely.
And I let it go and decided to pursue education. And I don't regret that because literally like my entire career path has been surrounded around education in some shape, form, or fashion in every arena that I've worked in. So I don't regret it. But I will say that I think that had I taken the law path, while it would have been a little bit harder on the front end, I think that I would have had a little bit more money in the middle side and I would have able to do some things sooner
Right.
than what I actually got a chance to do them. I remember this one time, and I was real young. I was probably elementary school age. I said to myself, I want to be the first Black African American female president of the United States. You know, little kids come up with stuff. But now that I'm thinking back on that, I'm like, girl, if you would have went the law path, this probably would have been that time. And girl, you could have probably beat Biden out and been in the presidency. Like you just messed it all up for everyone.
Exactly. It's your fault, Shanetta.
Right. It's all my fault. Like I was literally just thinking that the other day and kind of giggled to myself because I picked up Barack Obama's book.
Okay.
And I was reading through it. And I was like, girl, you messed it up for everyone. Like you could have with the law path. No, ruined it. We could have been living in the White House.
Oh, Elder would have been the first gentleman.
Right. Right. Walking around with a dog and, you know, a whole bunch of people just, you know, helping us out around the house, getting these kids off to college.
So I have a question because you said you would have went to counseling sooner.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
you went later.
Yes.
Is that what you okay.
Definitely.
And so like, do you feel like it was beneficial?
Definitely. Counseling?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like everybody needs a counselor.
Okay.
I feel like everybody needs a trained professional to talk to get their thoughts out. It doesn't have to be anything major or anything traumatic or anything big that has happened in your life. But I think that we all need sounding boards that are not just our friends and family. Having your friends and family to talk to is really, really good and very helpful in its place. But I think that sometimes we all have moments in our life that we need to process, and we need to process it with a professional. When you're left by yourself to process things, you make bad decisions. You make emotional decisions. You make decisions that lead you down paths that you don't have to go down if you would just simply talk about it. And I feel like we have to learn as a community to really talk more and I mean, sometimes, yes, that does come in talking to your friends and family, but your friends and family may have the same mindset that you have, and y'all were just gonna make a bad decision together. So I feel like talking it out is amazing. It's really good. You don't have to go every week. You don't have to go every month. You might only need to talk to your counselor or therapist or life coach or whatever twice a year. Maybe once a quarter. But I do think that it's good to have people that are trained to help you pull out key information in what you're thinking. My girlfriend can help me process some stuff, but a trained counselor or a trained therapist can help guide you to pull out things that other people can't hear and see because they might be too close to it.
Right.
My best friend if I call you about what's going on between me and my husband, you're going to tell me what I need to hear as a friend because you're protecting my heart. You're protecting my mind because you're my friend. That therapist has no horse in the race. So they're going to kind of help you process things in a better way. Your girlfriend may tell you, well, if it was me, I would dump him. If it was, and that may not be what you really need to do.
Right.
It may be a matter of you need to communicate more. Well, let me point out to you what you need to do to help, pull this situation over in this direction, and let's see what happens. So I just kind of think that having that professional help helps to pull you further away from it so that you can kind of get the proper guidance that you need sometimes. So yes, definitely would have done that earlier because I think that I made good decisions, but I also made some bad decisions. And I think that having someone to talk them out probably would have prevented me from having a Texaco car. But definitely probably would have helped me make some better decisions earlier on my path. Like the Texaco card was like I don't know why I needed that card. Do y'all remember Spiegel?
Yes.
I had a Spiegel card for like $1,000.
Ooh.
Terrible. Now I did get my first, business professional outfits to go on those interviews. I got them from Spiegel with that card. I had a Victoria's Secret card. Didn't buy nothing but lotion and body spray. It was the craziest thing ever. I could list the credit. I had a Macy's card. I had all kinds of cards because I was on campus just signing up for random stuff. Yep. But hey.
Okay, so I know sometimes looking back, or people get stuck, looking back in the I coulda, shoulda, woulda type deal. But do you think that it's healthy occasionally to look back or to try to figure out, how I got here or why I'm here? Or do you think that's necessary, or should we just always be full steam ahead?
I think it's important to look back, especially when you're looking back at your immature self and seeing the difference in the process that you've come through to be your mature self. As your immature self, let me just talk about me. I was a lot quicker with my lip, a lot quicker to say something and fly off, and 0 to 100, don't test me, neck. That was my younger self. And my mature self is just like, whatever. That's how you feel. Good for you. I just don't have that in me that much anymore to care that much, unless it comes to, unless you're trying to talk about my kids or something, then it may come out, if you push me. But just looking back, just saying that, I'm not that person anymore. And also to look at, I used to be the type of person that would try to be more outgoing, and I try to be, go and do this, that, and the third, and I was uncomfortable. And as a mature adult, I'm just like, why am I putting myself through this to be uncomfortable? Then I can just be myself and be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to be something that I'm not. And so, I think my mature self is a lot more just settled in who I am, and I'm okay with who I am, as opposed to trying to be something else.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Shanetta?
I think both. And I think I kind of heard both in Trina's answer too, where you should go full steam ahead, but at the same time, you need to reflect and kind of look back on things. And I think that you should definitely do both. Definitely keep moving forward. Like, you can't get stuck in your past to the point where you can't move forward because you're looking backwards. You're looking at, well, if I would have did this, and if I could have did that, if I had the money for this, or if I wouldn't have made this decision, or if I wouldn't have done that, then I wouldn't be here now. And you're kind of like down and out because of all the things you should have done from looking back. I think you should look back at the past and be like, well, I should have did this a whole lot earlier, but since I didn't, let me do this now, because this needs to be done, and I need to go, forward, and I need to look at my past decisions to determine what was I doing here that resulted in what I don't like here, so that I don't do it again now to end up in the same place. Like, you have to kind of use it to your benefit, so that you're not making the same decisions over and over again, a cycle of, just bad decisions or decisions that just don't benefit you. It doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It could just be that it's just not getting you anywhere and it's not benefiting you. So what do you need to do different from what you've done before? I did it a couple of times. Like, when I decided to get my second degree, I had to reflect on what I was doing before and why didn't I, do certain things, and why can't I get to this area? So I went back to school 3 times and earned, more credentials. And that was a decision that I made from reflecting on the past. And I think that we kind of have to do that from time to time. You kind of have to look at things, reevaluate, straighten it out, whether it's your education, your career choice, your home life, your family, what you're doing with your spouse, what you're doing with your children, who your friends are, what you're engaged in, what you're involved in, all that kind of stuff. You need to reflect and kind of decide, okay, what have I learned from doing this? And do I need to continue it? Do I need to change it? I think especially in marriages, like, you kind of have to evaluate and say, okay, this is what's working for us. This is what's not working for us. Let's revamp some things. Let's refreshen this. Let's do something different. If you get to a place where you're feeling like you're stuck, or like you can't progress and you're not going anywhere, you have to kind of start evaluating where you are to get unstuck. Like, you got to be able to dig your way out somehow.
Okay, Kenny, that's another question. When did you realize that your transition to a mature woman had been crossed?
Just some days I still have questions.
I was about to say the same thing, Trina. Like, I don't really know.
Like, wait a minute. Especially I'm sitting in a serious situation and I'm cracking up. I'm like, I'm not mature enough for this.
Like, you're such a child. Yeah, right.
Like, some days I'm just not mature enough for the situation. So I don't know if I crossed all the way over. I don't know.
Agreed. Same, Trina. Same. Because I'm like, you were so immature, Janetta. Like, you sitting here.
So immature.
You got grown kids. You cannot be this immature.
Yep.
But yeah. I mean, it just depends on the day of the week and what the situation is. And, there are moments where you're like, you've really grown up. Like, a couple of years ago, you would have responded this way. Look at you. Look at you, girl. And then other days, like, not so much. I don't really know what happened. I chose petty today.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's just a little bit different. I mean, I clown everything. To me, fun is fun. If it's funny, I don't, whatever. Like, that part is just what it is. I think for me, like, when I could be honest about my role in something. Like, I mean, I don't know what age it happened, but sometimes things happen. You're like, oh, they did that. Oh, well, it's your fault. We ain't talking no more. It's your fault. Oh, well, this happened. Oh, that's your fault. Oh, this one. Oh, that was, and you always find yourself, somebody did this and somebody did that, and you never can accept, like, no, I did this. Like, when I got to the point where I could look at the situation and be like, oh yeah, I did that. I probably shouldn't have, but I did. And this is exactly why this is happening. So, like, for me, Hey, Mama McCory, thanks for joining us. For me, like when I could look at myself and be honest in that moment about what I did and or what I didn't do and how I got there. For me, that was when I felt like I crossed into maturity, where it was no longer about finding fault and blaming other people, but what I could say was, Sam, you know what? You were really rotten to whoever, or you really missed the mark by 1,000, or less. When I could have those honest conversations with myself and then promote myself to better behavior, going forward, that's when I feel like for me, I crossed into being mature. Like, that I can self-correct.
Yeah.
So
I like that. I definitely like that. I've always, I think, been one to kind of know, even if I never say it out loud, I know in my head, like, if I'm if I'm good or if I'm not. No, but I'm also one who very much so, my husband will probably comment after this, very much so believes that I'm always right. So if I said it, it's probably 99.9% right. And I just need you to listen to me, and I just need you to do what I said. So in that, I'm like, there's nothing for me to acknowledge because I'm always right.
Wow.
Maybe I haven't reached it yet. If we're gonna work on that.
I would have to say, like, I've never been one, like, people, I've had people say that you think you're always like it. No, it's not that I don't think I'm always right. I'm just fine with being wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you make a decision and people are like, you shouldn't do that. Okay, I'm going to do it. And if it's wrong, then it is what it is. Like,
right.
I'm not, I'm not like the second guesser. Like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't. I'm like, okay, we're gonna ride this decision out.
We here now.
Like, yeah, we're gonna, we just gonna ride it out. So I think I've always been like, I could be wrong, but I'm making a decision. Like, I'm just not gonna. I might be wrong, but this is what we're gonna do. Like, we'll just deal with it afterwards. I think, sometimes you just gotta shoot for the stars. Shoot for the stars. So where do you stand in this? So I'm fine with being wrong. She thinks she's always right. Where do you fall in this line?
I think I think I'm a little bit of both, because I think I take the time to think it through. I think I do take time. I take time to make a decision, and so I try to be right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be so you can't tell me I'm wrong. So I try to make a decision and I want to be blameless. You know what I'm saying? I want to be blameless in whatever decision that I make. But there are times where if I'm like, well, this what I'm like you sometimes, Sam. Like, I could be wrong, but well, here we are.
Right, like.
So it really depends on the situation.
Listen, and I know I'm gonna get in trouble because my husband is in the comments, but he's one, like, if he unsure, he's the one kind of like, I'm staying here and I'm not gonna move until I'm 100%. I don't have that kind of patience. Life has to move forward. We got to decide. So, like, I'm the one that's like, okay, we're gonna make a decision. And we just go, but he'd be like, okay, we just need to wait. And I'm like,
yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm like, if you just listen to me, you're gonna get it right every time.
Yeah, and I'm just like, look, we're gonna do something. We can't just not do nothing. Let's just do something, and then we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of how I am. So okay, so now looking at what you said for 18. So we'll go back to 18 because 18 is right around that groaning time.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at where you were at 18. and I mean more like mentally and maybe spiritually, and where you are now at whatever the ages are. So do you think um like do you think your 18-year-old self would look at you and be like, yes girl, you did that, you made lemonade out of all them lemons, or you done built the house out of all those bricks? Do you think your 18-year-old self would be like, you got this, you doing good, whatever? Or do you feel like your 18-year-old self would be like, what is wrong with you? Like, oh, thanks, Kenny.
I think my 18-year-old self would be like, well, that took a long time. I mean, you got there, but
that was a good one.
yeah.
Shanetta.
My 18-year-old self might agree with Trina.
Right. You've been waiting.
I think my 18-year-old self would definitely be proud of where I've come, but would probably be like, girl, you should have listened to yourself. You would have got it right.
No, not got it right. You know what?
But I think my 18-year-old self would be pretty proud of me with where I am right now, today, where I stand today. Spiritually, so my 18-year-old self would be like, oh, okay, that's it. I was in church at 18 because I had grew up in church, but not so much like fully living, church standards at 18, of course. I mean, I don't know too many 18-year-olds that actually are. So did I just confess to being wrong? But I think that as far as like things that we've accomplished, things that I've accomplished, things that I've done over the last several years, I think my 18-year-old self will be pretty satisfied and pretty like, okay, you did all right. But yeah, like going back and saying like, this is how this turns out for you. Like you're married to a whole elder. My 18-year-old self will be like, girl, please.
Right.
No, ma'am.
Wow. Oh, I have to say, I think my 18-year-old self would definitely be uttering Trina words, and like it took you long enough and you still ain't all the way there. Like, you could have sped this up. There's plenty of times you could have, moved this process forward a lot. I think that would definitely be the sentiment. Like, how did you go from this to this? Like, girl, how long did this take? Like, so yeah, I think it would definitely be one of those conversations, because it'd be like, how long is it gonna take me to get from over here to here? Mm-hmm. I don't got that kind of time. You're like, I really don't have that kind of time. So yeah, I definitely think the time factor would definitely be a conversation between the two of us. Because spiritually, I think I've gotten really, really, really way better on that end, but just like the rest of it, be like, what is wrong with you? You like riding a short yellow bus. You need to move a little faster. So yeah, what I think. But I will say I'm glad to hear, nobody was like, oh, I have deep regrets. That we're mature. We're all mature enough to realize that, all of those things kind of led to the women, that we are today, and we can appreciate the journey. And that's the thing. I think it's good to reflect. I think it's good to look back on where you come from and where you're going and all those things, and evaluate yourself, but appreciate your journey. It may not look like what you intended it to look like. It may not even look like what you want, but it's a journey. It's a marathon. You have your whole life to live. Mm-hmm. If you think about that, you have your whole life to live it out. So, take that journey and appreciate every step. Every step ain't gonna be a high one. It might be a low one. It might be one of them times, but they said that you in the valley. You ain't on the mountaintop. The mountaintop, but you can always see it. You know, when you're near a mountain, you can always see. You know, you always see mountains. They're always big, so you can always see where you need to go if you just focus and look ahead. So thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
Of course, for an awesome broadcast. Thank you to all our viewers for the questions and the comments. We so appreciate you, and we will be back next Tuesday, same time, same back channel. So until then, stay safe.